Brand new segment here, Real Steel Sports, fresh off the press. James Krasnerick here to break down everything that happened in the world of sports for February 15th, 2013. I know NFL free agency doesn't officially kick off for another month, but that doesn't stop teams from already trying to either A, add players to complete the pieces of a championship puzzle, or B, get rid of players to free up cap space. And today was a surprising cut in my opinion. The Green Bay Packers have parted ways with safety/cornerback Charles Woodson, the 2009 Defensive Player of the Year, will now be gone, and that will free up $10 million in cap space. Woodson has said he plans to play in 2013. I'm honestly pretty surprised by this because Woodson's been the guy in that secondary for years. He's been the captain. He's been the one guy in that defense you can honestly say has helped keep that unit together. Because the last 2 years, Green Bay's defense has been pretty bad. Whether they were the worst pass defense in league history in 2011 or this year getting smoked in the playoffs by Colin Kaepernick. Charles Woodson's been the guy to always make the signals and do all the audibles and stuff like that. And losing him off your defense, that would be like the Steelers losing. That'd be like the Steelers when they lost, James Ferrier, if they were to lose Troy Polamalu on top of that. He was a huge part of that team, winning a Super Bowl in 2010, and that would have been completely impossible if he wouldn't been there. Now, some other news from the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts have confirmed that Dwight Freeney, their multi-year Pro Bowl defensive end, will not be back in 2013. Freeney, of course, last year had to make the switch to a 3-4 defense to accommodate the hiring of head coach Chuck Pagano, who was the 3-4 defensive coordinator in Baltimore for the Ravens. Honestly, I'm surprised Dwight Freeney won't be back because he's a 7-time Pro Bowler, is still one of the most feared pass rushers in this league. I'm amazed they even tried to switch him to a linebacker. I really am, because his frame, he's 6'1", 268. That's kind of big to be an outside linebacker in today's NFL. You got to be like 250. You have to be like a little bit smaller and like around 250 to be an edge rusher. I mean, at right defensive end, you could say for the better part of for the whole 2000s, he was probably one of the best defensive ends in the game. I mean, look at what he did from 2002 to 2009 in that decade. Played in 117 games, recorded 84 sacks. And he was one of the big reasons why the Indianapolis Colts ended up winning a Super Bowl in 2006 and ended up going to another Super Bowl in 2009. He led the league in 2004 with 16 sacks. Titus Young, the much... how can I put this? Very much outspoken wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, who was claimed off waivers by the St. Louis Rams a week ago, has now been cut by the St. Louis Rams. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Titus Young, good ball player, doesn't have his head on straight. He's not a kind of guy you really can afford to add to a team if you're kind of in that, phase of you're going to become a better team, or if you're trying to build to become a better team. The Rams are currently on the up and up. They're looking up. They had a good year last year, winning 7 games under new coach Jeff Fisher. Bringing in a guy like Titus Young is not what young quarterback Sam Bradford really needs. But the biggest thing that pissed me off that I saw today was Roger Goodell's 2011 salary. In 2011, the NFL owners almost tripled the commissioner's total compensation for the tax year and easily made him the highest paid commissioner in the United States among sports. His base pay was $3.1 million. His bonus pay was $22.3. In general, without some other additions, his pay was now $29,490,000. What the hell? Are the owners as blind as I think they are? Or that they're showing? This guy's taking all the fun out of football. The players' approval rating has been so piss poor of him that it's not even funny. He carries a 61% disapproval rating, and you're going to pay him $22 million in bonuses. That's just what he needs. Confirmation to make him think he's doing the right thing, but really he's driving the league into the ground. And honestly, the league may not even be open for business in like 20 or 30 years, the way he's running it. I've been very critical of Goodell for several reasons. Number one, obviously, I'm a Steeler fan, and I see the way he's fined players. Like the $40,000 fine on Ryan Clark in 2011 for the hit in the Ravens game on Ed Dixon was completely preposterous. I thought he very much overkilled the fines for James Harrison a couple of times. A couple of times, like the Alex Smith hit, the Colt McCoy hit, that was justified. But every other one you can make an argument, he didn't get paid. He got fined way too much. And also, you got to look at the bounty scandal. He completely and totally flubbed any chance of getting true, undeniable truth in that investigation. He messed that thing up from the get-go. When he suspended Sean Payton and Jonathan Vilma for the year without so much as, a hearing from either one of them, that kind of proved to you that he didn't really do his homework on that whole situation. And look what happened. Vilma won't have to sit out a game, and neither will the other guys. And if they did have to sit out any of the games because of that, well, that's NFL. Those are NFL games they'll never be able to get back. Nice going, Goodell. Moving on from that, had some very, very exciting games throughout the National Hockey League today. The first place in the Eastern Conference and Atlantic Division, New Jersey Devils overcame a 3-1 deficit to beat the Philly Flyers 5-3. Brodeur made 25 saves and had an assist, and Steve Bernier, he ended the game with an empty netter. The Devils got off to a good start, and then the Flyers scored 3 within a span of 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and then from then on it was just all New Jersey. Side note, this is Claude Giroux's 300th NHL game. And the Devils now add 2 points onto their Eastern Conference lead. They now lead the Pittsburgh Penguins, in the Atlantic Division race by 1 point. And they are 2 points ahead of Boston in the race for home ice throughout the playoffs. Speaking of the Penguins, they also 2-1. Now they've got 20 points. Thanks to a 3-1 win in Winnipeg over the Jets, Craig Adams scores 2 goals, and Marc-Andre Fleury stops 25 of his 26 shots. One of the best games I think Fleury's played in a long time. The Jets crowded the goal throughout the whole game, and he was just able to come up with save after save after save. And the only reason they gave up that goal at the end was the fact that the Jets had an empty net situation. They had an extra man down there, and they just clogged everything right in front of them. So still a great performance by Fleury. Just as good as a shutout. Go on now to my sport. A disappointing result in the ATP World Tour today. The defending champion in Rotterdam, Roger Federer, falls in the quarterfinals to Julien Benneteau. The first time Benneteau had beaten Federer since the 2009 BNP Paribas Masters. And he's given Federer some tough matches in the past. The 6-3, 7-5 win today puts him in the semifinals, as it was only his second ever victory for Roger Federer. Federer was broken decisively in the 12th game to end the match and loses 6-3, 7-5. From what I saw Federer today, he looked kind of shaky. Benneteau definitely took it to him, was playing very, very well, was aggressive, stayed mentally tough, and he knew he could hang with Federer. And I don't think Federer expected the match he got today. I'm not saying expected just to roll over him, but I think Federer, I'm not going to say took him lightly. I'm just going to say that Benneteau, I think, surprised Federer and myself with how well he played. And I got to give him credit. Hell, he's beaten Federer before. Of course, some other news from the world of tennis. Serena Williams, the 31-year-old American, came back from 4-1 down the third set to beat Petra Kvitova 3-6, 6-3, 7-5 in the quarterfinals of the Qatar Open on Friday. She will replace Victoria Azarenka as the world #1 player when the rankings come out this week. She wiped away tears as she spoke to the crowd after the game. She said, "I never thought I'd be here again. My gosh, I've been through so much, never thought I'd be here." She is definitely the oldest female to ever achieve the honor and one of her greatest feats in her career, considering all that she's been through. 2010, cut her foot on a piece of broken glass. Then later on, she had blood clots in her lungs. She had all kind of physical issues. The year she had last year, winning Wimbledon, winning the U.S. Open, and the gold medal at the Olympics. The way she's played the last year and a half, or should I say actually more or less half a year, you can't make an argument there's anybody who's been better on tour. I know Azarenka may be the world's #1 player, but Serena right now, I know Azarenka today may be the #1 ranked player, but Serena will be justifiably back at #1 on Monday when the new rankings come out. Had another upset in the world of tennis. At the Brazil Open, defending champion Nicolas Almagro fell to David Nalbandian, 7-6, 3-6, 7-6. The 93rd ranked Nalbandian converted one of his 4 break points and held Nicolas Almagro to 11 break chances, but only 2 conversions. Not a lot of people give Nalbandian credit. When you look at him, he really doesn't have any real particular weapon, but he's just steady. He's like a tortoise. I mean, he's a fast mover on the tennis court, but he's just so steady and rock solid from the baseline that it's often hard to get anything past. The 2-hour, 17-minute match will put Nalbandian into the semifinals against Simone Bolelli. And Bolelli has actually reached his first ATP semifinal since 2008, and as he defeated Spaniard Albert Montañez. Also at the Brazil Open to reach the semis, Rafael Nadal, who shockingly lost the final of the Viña del Mar Open in Chile last week, is now in the semis of a second straight tournament on clay, defeating Carlos Burlock of Argentina 3-6, 6-4, 6-4. 2 hours and 24 minutes took Nadal to beat a player who a lot of people say was quite a few levels below him. I mean, considering the fact Nadal's probably the greatest clay court player of all time. Burlock hung tough with him, and I think that was a really, really good achievement for him. And Nadal will now play the Argentine Martin Alund, who beat Italian Filippo Bollandri 7-5, 7-6. Before this tournament, Alund had never won a top tour level match before this event. Now some highlights from the Americans tournaments. 6'9" American and the highest ranked player from the US of A, John Isner, is in the semifinals of the SAP Open in San Jose, beating Xavier Malisse 7-6, 6-2. He will now play 4th seeded German Tommy Haas, who beat wildcard Steve Johnson 6-4, 6-2. I haven't really spoken too much about this on radio, out of the fact that I am a tennis player and I really do respect tennis a lot. But I've really had it up to here with the way the USTA has conducted their business. I really have. It scares me. We've not had an American male claim a Grand Slam title since Andy Roddick won the 2003 US Open. So technically, at this point, no American male active has won a major. Because Agassi and Sampras were the only ones to do it in the recent memory before he did. Come on, USTA. Really? You can't put out a player to at least get to the top 5? You can't put out a player that can at least contend? It just frightens me. I'm honestly, to the point, very concerned as to whether an American will win another Grand Slam singles title again. I mean, Serena's dominating the women's game. Why can't we have a player at least get to a final? I mean, we haven't had an American male reach a Grand Slam final since Roddick at the 2009 Wimbledon. I'm just really tired of how the USTA has conducted their business, because they're all fat and happy sitting off, what they made during the Agassi, Sampras, Courier, Chang generation, that they didn't put shit into Blake, Fish, Ginepri, that generation. And then even this one with Query and Isner and Donald Young. And even the newer ones like Bjorn Fratangelo. Come on. Help these guys out. They've got the potential. They've got the work ethic. You can't put out a champion. You can't. Pisses me off every day I think about it. Another breaking news story of the NBA. The LA Lakers and the Boston Celtics are currently interested in a trade from sending Dwight Howard to Boston for Rajon Rondo. Now, Dwight Howard he may be in the All-Star game, but seriously, I don't get this trade at all, because Rajon Rondo is one of the best players in the NBA. I mean, he's clearly had one of the best years of his career this year. How many games was his streak of games with at least 10 assists? What was it, like 37? I know he just tore his ACL and he's pretty much gone for the season and a lot of next. But a Dwight Howard to Boston deal doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because the Lakers are gonna lose their ground in the race for the playoffs even faster this season. Or maybe they're just already throwing this season in the tank and getting ready for next season. Either way, this Laker team has drastically underperformed this year. I mean, you look at the talent in this team: Pau Gasol, Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, and they've been healthy, all of them playing for much of this year. They are currently 10th in the Western Conference, 17 games out of first place in the West, and their own division, they trail Golden State by 6 games and LA by 13 for the lead in that Pacific Division. They've just been absolutely abysmal. I mean, at home 16-11 isn't too bad, but on the road they're 9-18. They're 5-5 in their division, 6-4 in their last 10. I had high hopes for this Lakers team. I thought that they could at least make the Western Conference semis with all the pieces in place. But I guess it proved my theory, my alternate theory, correct, that when you bring a whole lot of players in and you don't give them a whole lot of time to gel, you're going to have some you're going to have some growing pains. Led Mike Brown to lose his job, and Mike D'Antoni to get a job I don't think he really should have gotten. I think they should have put more money into Phil Jackson. I think he could have made this work. If Phil Jackson was the coach of this team right now, I guarantee you, defensively they'd be more sound, and they'd be at least one game over 500. But something else involving basketball has been, the talk of the NBA world. And that is, everybody's trying to find somebody to compare to Michael Jordan. It's his 50th birthday coming up Sunday. Personally, for me, I think that if he came back and coached for the team, came back and played for the team he owns, the Charlotte Bobcats, I think he would probably be the best player on the team. And he's 50, and considering the Bobcats have players that are in their 20s and teens, that's kind of pathetic. But honestly, who would I rather have, Kobe or LeBron? Because they've been comparing Kobe Bryant, LeBron James to Michael Jordan. Comparing LeBron because his impact, his athleticism, his MVPs, but he only has one ring. And Kobe, hard worker, not so much like talented athletically as LeBron, but still makes all the plays, is clutch, has 5 titles, an MVP, 2 MVPs in the NBA Finals. Who would I rather have? Honestly, I would go with Kobe. And a lot of people would be like, well, you're overlooking LeBron's athleticism. I understand that. I understand LeBron works hard. I understand he's selfless. But Kobe's work ethic is something that we haven't seen since Michael Jordan. The killer instinct late in games. The clutch factor. Yeah, I know LeBron finally figured out the NBA, figured out how to play in the NBA Finals last year when they beat the Thunder in 5 games. But I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about in their prime. I mean, right now, LeBron's the better player. But in their prime, at their very best, I'm taking Kobe. know LeBron is physically more gifted. He's much more athletic. But if you look at the teams that Kobe won championships on, I know he won them with Shaq, and it was him, and there was a bunch of other guys. But when he won his, 2009, 2010 titles, he was driving that team. He was. I know they had some good players, Bynum, Gasol, Metta World Peace, but you put another average guy in Kobe's position and take Kobe off, that team doesn't sniff the playoffs. I mean, he's clearly the closest thing to Michael Jordan that we've had since MJ retired. He's been the closest thing. He has got 5 titles, which he's got the championship pedigree. He's won an MVP. All he's got to do is win another title, win 2 more MVPs, and he'll be tied with Jordan in that regard. Though I don't think anybody's ever going to be as good as Michael Jordan, nor was anybody else. Okay, that's all I have to report today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll be back tomorrow night to do my other daily sports report for February 16th, 2013. Hope you guys enjoyed this. James Kushner, Real Steel Sports, signing off.